Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tribal Council podcast. We're on this podcast, Survivor represents our life, and when it is canceled, so are we. And today we will be talking about episode 3 of Survivor 50. As always, we'll be talking about the players in order of how likely I personally think they are to win. And we will be starting off with the fourth person eliminated from Survivor 50, Q Burdett. Now, who wants to get us started on Q?
I'm going to start by saying this. I think Q is a very tragic early boot, and I want to give a quick thoughts and see what you guys think of this. Weirdly, I think this was a good final episode, if that's what we were going to get for Q. First off, we got a Q catchphrase. We got to see him say something that we all were waiting for, an iconic Q moment to be coming back for season 50. And we got a potentially good strategic move that was just never going to work in the present situation because someone was already making a better strategic move, right? Mike was already like, yep, we're not going to tell Q that we're going to gun for him. We're just going to tell it like it's Stephanie. Everyone will believe it. Great move. However, him trying to get someone to, stray a vote off of Stephanie and onto him potentially has worked in past and, could work again someday, just wasn't going to be this day.
I just don't think it would have worked on our attorney season.
My only guess as to why Q is trying to do that is just that I feel like there might be sort of a perception out there that Mike isn't necessarily there to like play the game super hard. Like he might just kind of be along for the ride. He wanted to play Survivor again, and Mike doesn't need the money. He's not out here to win. So maybe Q thought like, oh, if I ask Mike nicely, maybe he will vote for me. Despite the fact that his allies are voting for my ally, Stephanie. What he didn't know was that everybody was already voting for him. So obviously, it never would have worked just because of that.
Yeah.
Aside from that, though, it's not the worst thing he could have tried if he really thought that Stephanie was the target. But at the end of the day, not only did he have more people against him than he thought he did, they were also targeting him over Stephanie, which, what do you do at that point? I actually think that, this was a decent season for Q, though, all things considered.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I got to see a little bit of his personality shine before getting booted, but alas.
Yeah, it is a little bit crazy, 18 confessionals, and there were definitely some decent personality moments from Q, but we never really got, the full unbridled chaos Q, which, if anything, made me think, oh, this means that he's going to last longer, because he's not just a character, he's, an actual player that we should watch out for, but I guess they just didn't want to give him too much spotlight. Well, again, though, they still gave him 18 confessionals, so, it's kind of weird, but, that being said, we'll move on, and we'll talk about the least likely person to win at this point in the season, in my opinion. And also my preseason winner pick, Tiffany Nicole Irvin. Well, first off, she has 2 total confessionals after 3 episodes, so that's definitely not a good sign. What exactly do we know about Tiffany? We know she has an alliance with Camilla and Dee on her original tribe. We know that she is getting close with Aubrey on this tribe, and I think that's it. I think that's all we know about Tiffany.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that we're not getting a lot of content from her, but I don't know, I was just really excited to see her play.
Yeah, well, they've yet to... They've yet to officially purple a player in the new era, so I feel like we'll get at least one 2 confessional episode from Tiffany to make up for her 0 confessional episode. I think she'll get at least 1 total confessional per episode by the time she's gone. Maybe we'll even see more than 2 confessionals from her in an episode down the line. Who knows? Wouldn't that
I
be
would
exciting?
love that.
But the funny thing is, like, there's a very real world where she could, like, triple her total confessionals next episode, and she wouldn't even need, like, a massive presence on the episode in order to do it. She'd need 4 confessionals. So, like, but yeah, just the 2 confessionals total is really keeping her at the bottom of this list. And it's also kind of an issue for the next few people that we have, right? Camilla Karthagesu has 3 total confessionals. So I struggle to remember really exactly what she has going on this episode. She got 1 confessional apparently. But also I want to point out from last episode, Camilla getting 0 confessionals after finding out that Kyle was medically evacuated, probably not the best sign in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have anything else to say about Camilla? Do either of you remember what her 1 confessional this episode was about?
Normally I'm the guy who comes in and is like, yeah, you know what? That one random confessional, I remember it was this. Even this week, I got nothing, guys. Her and Tiffany alike just are on our screens, and that's about it. They'll show up in camp moments when someone else is talking. I got nothing.
I just don't have good memory.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, then we move on. And we talk about Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick, who actually has 8 total confessionals, but she did get a goose egg in episode 2. And she also just lost her closest ally, supposedly. So that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Really, those are the main things, is the fact that she got a 0 confessional episode and the fact that she just lost one of her closer allies. She was completely left out of the vote. She was brought up as a potential target as well. And I don't know, 2 confessionals when you're going to tribal council isn't necessarily super impressive either. So at the end of the day,
She's not voting super well.
no, yeah, and she's been to one tribal council where she was on the outs. That's, from a game perspective, never a good sign. So, which is kind of why I have her below the next couple people on this list who maybe don't have quite as many confessionals as she does, but have other things going for them that keep them above Stephanie for me. Do either of you have anything to add on about Stephanie?
I mean, this was a particularly negative episode in just a ton of ways, and even if you had her much higher than is present for this video, or we've previously mentioned in this video series, it's just looking more and more unlikely that a world where Stephanie wins is happening on her screens again. Any sign that she could have recovered from this vote, we would kind of need to see it next episode. If we don't immediately get the world's greatest Stephanie episode, you can count her out.
Real. And another person who I would mostly count out, but did actually kind of have a decent episode this time around. We'll be talking about Chrissy Hoffbeck. Chrissy, 4 total confessionals. She's got that episode 2 goose egg that so many players on this list share. But she did at least get some emotional content this episode. We saw Coach try to coach her, I guess, in the worst possible way. Yeah. It kind of reminded me actually of on Heroes vs. Villains when Tyson was trying to coach on why nobody on the tribe likes him. So I guess it's sort of a full circle moment here, except in this
Yeah.
case, Chrissy really does not seem to appreciate it.
Coach was very rude to her.
Yeah, not how I would have. Well, first of all, like, not even the correct, like, criticism. Like, people on Chrissy's tribe didn't seem to be upset that she was talking too much. They just seemed to be upset that she was mothering them too much.
Yeah.
And just being like, hey, by the way, you need to shut the fuck up and stop talking so much is, like, never gonna be taken very well by most people. Um,
Especially when you do it the way that he did it.
yeah, it felt like he was, like, trying to be nice about it, but I don't know how he thought that that's how it was going to be perceived. Um, and we see that, like, she basically has the story arc of, like, maybe I don't need my old tribe. Maybe I can work with, like, Genevieve and well, mainly I remember her wanting to work with Genevieve moving forward. So um ultimately though, like, that's really it for Chrissy. That's kind of why I have her above Stephanie. Is just that she did get that emotional moment, and it did set up a storyline for her to move forward in the game potentially. But that Zero Confessional episode in episode 2 is really holding her back from being anywhere near the top of this list. Connor, do you have anything to add on about Chrissy before we move on?
I mean, unfortunately, there's just a lot of things that I've already seen that I've just been completely unsure of. I will kind of bring this up. Saturday Challenge in episode 2, just hasn't looked like the same player as well in episode 3. Doesn't look like the challenge threat that I'm used to seeing. And I don't know if it's like she's saving herself for the second half of the game, but she just hasn't seemed to be nearly as competitively sharp as used to seeing, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we'll see when it comes to the individual challenges, but I get what you mean. That being said, she's still yet to go to Treble Cancel, so clearly she's doing something right. Um, Now, for the last player here who got that Zero Confessional episode in episode 2, I have Angelina Keeley. She has 5 confessionals, which is not bad considering she had that Zero Confessional episode in episode 2. She is sort of working with Mike and Christian right now. She was in on the vote for her first tribal council, which is good. Yeah, all around, like, she seems to, even though I don't necessarily buy that she's changed as much since David versus Goliath as she says she has, certain interactions and stuff that I've seen online would lead me to believe that that might not be totally true. At least the way that the show is portraying her, it seems like the show wants us to think that, like, Angelina has grown as a person and she's changed and she's gonna be a more evolved player this season, and that sort of portrayal feels positive in terms of her odds of winning. But again, Zero Confessionals in episode 2, it's kind of hard to feel like she has much odds regardless. But that's sort of the reason why I have her above the other people who got that goose egg in episode 2. Before we move on, though, does anybody else have anything to say about Angelina?
All I'll say is that I agree. I feel like she hasn't really changed much into any more self-aware.
I will add on something very different because I think this actually was, in a lot of ways, a very good episode for her in reasons that were completely out of her control. Someone that was notably very anti Angelina was Q. And they kind of looked at her as not only one of the least helpful members of that tribe, but just pretty easy first boot had they originally gone to tribal. And now all of a sudden, Q's gone. I get Q didn't necessarily have deciding power and he was not the be all end all of that tribe, but he was still a member of a core alliance on the old Vatu and could have impacted Angelina's game a lot had there not been a swipe right away. So it was very good for her to see Q go completely out of her control, but the outcome is very positive. That's about all I can say for positive things that have happened so far, enough that I could genuinely believe she has a long running in this game.
I also do think it's worth noting her and Emily having like a pretty solid connecting moment in the episode as well. That's just one last positive thing to end on for Angelina. But we move on to Rizzo Vilovic, and the reason I keep Rizzo down here is kind of two negative episodes in a row. We had last episode where Q very notably commented on Rizzo being very lazy, and in this episode we get a lot of negative content about Rizzo coming from Charlie. Now whether Charlie's disdain for Rizzo makes any logical sense at all is a completely different story that we will get into, I think, when we talk about Charlie. But all in all, not a great look for Rizzo, which is why I have him down here in the bottom half of this list. But
yeah, I don't know if he's getting very far. He just doesn't. I don't know. Something just doesn't. He doesn't feel like he has a set place on the season necessarily. Like he's kind of. He had a little bit of a relationship with Colby, but overall with the whole cast, it seems like nobody's really settled with him. But that's probably in part because they've never seen his season.
the only
Feel like. Sorry.
the only thing that Rizzo really has going for him for me is that he's on a tribe that I don't think is going to go to tribal council anytime soon. Actually, yeah, that's kind of it. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if he makes it to the merge, I'm not really sure who his allies are going to be. He does describe himself as like sort of a free agent this episode, but he seems to want to work with Charlie. Charlie does not want to work with him. He seems to want to work with maybe Colby, who maybe does want to work with him, but it's kind of hard to say how permanent of a thing that would be. So I don't know. It's just hard to talk with Rizzo and really have too much confidence in him making it super far in this game when I just don't think he has any real allies, and he's gotten a lot of negative content from an edit perspective. But on to somebody else who's also had a decent amount of negative content, though mostly concentrated into one episode. We have Joe Hunter. Joe got one confessional this episode. Him, Coach, and Colby seem to want to form some sort of honor and integrity alliance, which I know is not what the fans want to see. But one confessional following an episode 2 that was all around pretty negative, I don't think is necessarily a great sign. And it's just difficult for me to see what Joe's path is moving forward from here, aside from maybe just working with Coach and Colby. Now, this does open up the possibility of like a Coach, Colby, Chrissy, Joe, Stephanie, Jonathan alliance, which I think would be maybe the worst case scenario for the season if that alliance were to control things from the merge onwards. But I just don't really see that happening, considering how many of those players have relatively small edits on the season so far. So that's why I have Joe down here. Anything else to add on about Joe?
I mean, I can't say for sure that this is going to be the case, but when you look at that tribe in general, it looks like Kala was kind of the irrelevant tribe before, and they were just kind of winning challenges, and then we just kind of didn't have to worry about them. And now it looks like they're going to still continue to be, oh, we're just going to win challenges and going to be the edit irrelevant tribe. Like, I could at least see a world where something goes wrong, and maybe there's like a back and forth between Vatu and Sela in a challenge, and maybe some kind of upset, and we see Sela go to tribal. I don't know how I could imagine Kala going to tribal right now. I don't know what would have to go wrong for that to happen.
I don't know. If two tribes were to go to tribal council, I do think that the Sela tribe is probably the strongest. So in that situation, I could definitely see Kala going to tribal council. And like the Vatu tribe is probably the weakest in challenges right now, and that was kind of evident by the fact that they lost the most recent challenge, but they do still have, Ozzy on their team. Can maybe pull some weight. Christian's really good at puzzles. Like maybe we see a win from them, in which case, again, between Kala and Sela, I would think that Kala would be the tribe that's more likely to go to tribal council. But just for me, the combination of having Jonathan, who's obviously probably the most physically dominant player on this cast, and Camilla, one of the best challenge puzzle performers on this cast, and like Rick Devens is no slouch in challenges. Dee, Charlie are both fairly good at challenges. Like it's really just Suri that could potentially be weighing them down. Rizzo, as long as they don't put him on a puzzle, should be good. So I don't know. I could definitely see Kala potentially going to tribal council. In 13th place, I have Dee Valladares. The only content that I remember Dee getting this episode was talking about how she likes Suri, but has been warned that Suri is a dangerous player and that she should target her if she gets the chance. But she's, kind of wary of that because she just really is drawn to Suri. Which is kind of just what Suri does. We'll talk about that again when we get to Suri, but as for Dee, I don't necessarily see it as great content, and she does still only have one confessional per episode, so those two things sort of in combination just aren't great signs for her. But she does have an alliance, and she also hasn't received a zero confessional episode yet, so those two things sort of keep her out of the very bottom tier of this list for me.
Yeah, I think that her confessional about being warned about Suri but still wanting to be around her and play with her it's bad for her edit. It doesn't say good things to me.
You didn't see her original season? Yeah, you didn't see her original season, but it very much reminds me of her really wanting to protect Julie, who could have potentially beat her in the end. Or choosing to go to the end with Austin, who, well, she does end up beating him in the end, probably wasn't the easiest person for her to beat. Funny enough, one of her biggest flaws on her original season was just that she was too loyal, which is weird because the fact that she wasn't too loyal was also one of her biggest strengths in a way, but it doesn't really make sense when I put it like that. But if you've seen her season, you probably understand what I'm talking about. And I could see her just deciding that she wants to work with Suri because she likes her, and then being too overly loyal to Suri. Like, that's definitely something that could happen with Dee. And if that's what happens, I don't see any real path for her to win. That's just not how you want to play the game when you have Suri on your season. But anything else to touch on before we move on to Charlie? Okay, well,
No.
next up, we have Charlie Davis. I want to talk about Charlie and his backwards ass logic for not liking Rizzo, okay? Because, okay, first of all, a lot of people are like, why did Rizzo lie about who his closest ally was? Um, or why didn't he lie about who he voted for, or like whatever. First of all, from my understanding, he was telling the truth. Sophie, he did perceive Sophie as his closest ally in the game on season 49. That's just not necessarily how it was portrayed in the edit as much. Um, Second of all, again, no reason for him to think that he would need to lie about who he voted for on the jury. Like, it's just not, there just isn't like a clear reason to lie about that. So even if you can even if it's a relatively easy lie to get away with, it's just not. It just also, from Rizzo's perspective, should seem kind of pointless to lie. And so he tells the truth, and Charlie is mad at Rizzo because he was on the jury and he didn't vote for his closest ally, which to me just seems like the wrong lesson to take from Maria not voting for him. Maria didn't vote for Charlie because Maria felt burned by Charlie. She was like, essentially, it seemed like she was kind of jealous that her closest ally was in the final three and she wasn't. And so she let her emotions get the better of her and decided to vote for Kenzie, and that's part of the reason why Charlie lost the game. I would think that if Charlie was being even a little bit rational whatsoever, he would respect a juror who doesn't vote based off of their emotions and votes for the person that they feel played the best game. Because if Maria did that, she probably would have voted for Charlie, and Charlie probably would have won. So him being mad at Rizzo for not voting emotionally and instead voting based on who he felt like played the best game is just does not make even the slightest bit of sense to me. And like, that's not even to mention that, like, I don't know, by that logic, I feel like there are probably plenty of people on this cast who have done that before, been on the jury and didn't necessarily vote for their closest ally. So it almost seems kind of performative on Charlie's part. Like, he just feels like it would be funny if he beefed with Rizzo over that, and so that's what he's going to do. And just kind of doesn't make me feel great about Charlie. And it also just doesn't, I don't think, is a good look from an edit perspective. So that's kind of partially why I have Charlie as low as I do. But I don't know. I want to hear your guys' perspective on Charlie this episode.
I pretty well agree with you. I feel like it felt like he was playing a part. Like, he didn't seem genuinely bothered by anything. Like, his feelings, like, I'm not saying that he doesn't have feelings surrounding what happened with Maria. Or yeah, her name's Maria. I don't know why I was second guessing myself for a second there, right?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. Like, I don't doubt that it bothers him, but it felt like, kind of like you said, him having beef with Rizzo over it felt like a big act. Like, I don't think his feelings surrounding it are that big. I don't think, or I wouldn't think that it would let it affect his game or the way he thinks about anybody. He's also, like you said, not thinking very logically, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess, like, I could understand him being upset at Rizzo for bringing it up randomly and just being like, hey, do you and Maria still talk? Like, that could be kind of a sensitive issue, and Rizzo just, like, bringing it up without really being very, I guess, graceful about it. Like, that I could understand genuinely rubbing Charlie the wrong way, and if he was upset at Rizzo over that, I would be sympathetic. But being upset because Rizzo said that he didn't vote for his closest ally in the final three on a season that Charlie hasn't seen. He doesn't know the context. He doesn't know anything. Like, he doesn't know if Sophie Bellerti, like Charlie, played probably the best strategic game out there. And, like, in fact, all he knows is that Rizzo voted based on who he felt like played the best game, which I just don't understand being upset with someone over that, I guess. Especially, like, I don't know. What are you getting upset for? Um, like, you're getting. Sorry, I'm trying to word this correctly. You're getting upset for somebody who you've never met. Charlie has never met Sophie, has never even seen Sophie on his screen. So it's just weird to me that he's getting kind of upset for her over this as well. It's just, I don't know, the whole situation is just really weird to me, personally. What do you think about this situation with Charlie and Riz O'Connor?
You know, I didn't imagine this in my wildest dreams. I thought that this might be some kind of, lover story, two guys that seem like a similar age, some similar personalities. But at the end of the day, Charlie, you might need to calm down. Guilty of sin here. He is absolutely on this thought process of, bad blood between him and Maria, and he's worried that it'll happen, to him. It seems like this is Charlie's, issue, I guess, and maybe he'll shake it off. But at this point, I would say he kind of knew he was trouble when he walked in, and I just don't think it looks very good for Rizzo or Charlie, if I'm being honest.
You know, I wonder if
I don't have a funny Taylor Swift joke.
I was gonna say I wonder if Charlie's gonna be the anti-hero this season. I
I
could
mean,
see
that could be gorgeous.
it. Okay. um, moving on to Aubrey. Okay, Aubrey Bracco. I don't know. Aubrey, this episode, her main content was just like forming an alliance with Tiffany. And I'm reading here that Aubrey only got one confessional, so I'm going to say that was pretty much her content. Oh, and she called Genevieve a bitch. Maybe.
Yeah.
That might have happened. That might have happened.
That was quite aggressive.
Well,
but
okay.
Sure.
I think understanding the context, she said Genevieve is a sneaky bitch. So it's like when you add sneaky before it, it kind of like makes it seem more lighthearted. Like she's not actually calling her a bitch, just like more like kind of like when you say like a son of a, like, oh, she's a sneaky son of a bitch. Like it's not like meant necessarily in a derogatory way, just like, oh, she's sneaky, we need to watch out for her. It's a vulgar way to say it, I guess, but I don't know that it was necessarily like the most derogatory connotation of the word bitch in that context. She also might not have said bitch. It was completely like blurred out, and she could have said that she's a sneaky friend or a sneaky fella.
Bugger? I don't know.
Well, okay, I saw somebody say maybe sneaky fucker, which would also make sense, and again would seem like kind of more lighthearted, but
yeah, that's funnier in context, but I don't know. At the end of the day, it's Aubrey coming to the realization that her suspicions that it's just not going to really be much of a connection and more of like a at odds situation is fully confirmed, and it really goes to show that she might have great intuition this season. I'm just assuming based off the fact that Genevieve has almost double the confessionals that Aubrey isn't the person who wins this battle. That being said, you never know. Her numbers are thin, but she does have a boomerang idol.
Also, the way that it's sort of being portrayed is it seems like Aubrey just has a problem with Genevieve for no reason and is going around to everybody trying to cause a stink about it. Meanwhile, everybody likes Genevieve, and only Tiffany likes Aubrey. That's kind of what we've seen in the edit so far. And so, unless we get some significant, like, Aubrey, like, being shown as, like, less of a, like, more of an underdog, like a rootable underdog, and, like, we get that content very soon, I just don't really see a world where Aubrey wins the game based on her edit so far. But she does have an idol, and she does have a potential alliance with Christian and Rick Devens and Suri maybe Emily. I mean, I don't know about Emily at this point, but all people she's never been on a tribe with, funny enough. And she's got Tiffany. So, I don't know. But then you look at Tiffany and her two confessionals, and you're like, that's your closest ally. Mm, probably not a great sign. What do you think about Aubrey so far, Jessica, as somebody who's seeing her play for the first time?
Um, I don't know. I guess I'd say I'm underwhelmed, but she's not really. She's getting content that feels very much so like she's just a part of somebody else's game. Like she's a hiccup in Genevieve's game more so than she's playing her own game.
Yeah, or maybe she's a stepping stone in someone like Christian's game, or
Yeah.
probably not Tiffany's game, but like, I don't know.
It just doesn't feel like she has any big plays coming this season
Yeah.
that like she is the sole cause of.
Also, she needs an idol to survive, like in the pre-merge, an idol that was given to her by someone she's never met. I feel like that's something you can hold against her as a juror, and something people will hold against her as a juror, that, oh, you needed an idol sent to you from another camp by someone that you don't even have a pre-existing relationship with, aside from potential pre-gaming, um, in order to save yourself. That's objectively not good gameplay, right? So
Yeah.
maybe if she manages to use the idol later on, or if she doesn't end up needing to use the idol, or if her and Christian are able to use the idol together in some way, she can mitigate that. But I don't know. It's tough. And yeah, she has a lot of allies, mostly on other tribes, mostly people she hasn't met in the game, because even Dee and Camilla could be potential allies for her if Tiffany is really serious about working with Aubrey. Um, but anyways, we move on and we talk about Coach Wade, somebody who's kind of slipping down on this list. I believe he did only get one confessional this episode, which, I mean, after getting 8-2 isn't the worst thing in the world. But it's just not a really good look for him this episode with the way that he talks to Chrissy. I mean, I guess there's the upside of Joe seeming to want to work with him, but that's kind of it, isn't it? That being said, everybody above him on this list has some pretty significant positives to me, so he's kind of landed himself smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, middle feels about right for him right now.
Yeah, he's not slaying any dragons so far, but then again, he hasn't been to tribal yet, so we'll see. Connor, who do you think is going to be the first dragon that Coach slays this season?
You know, I think I'm gonna go a little bit rogue on this one. Not too crazy, but I'm gonna make the guess that the first dragon that he slays this season is going to be. I'm gonna say Aubrey. I'm gonna say that somehow that ends up being Coach walks around and tells people, "Hey, I want to vote out Osprey," and then everyone's like, "Oh, we were already gonna do that." Yeah, Coach, go vote out Aubrey.
Hmm. Do you have any guesses, Jessica?
I think if him and Ozzy meet, he's gonna attempt to go for Ozzy.
Definitely. I think he
think
will
that's a
attempt
big
to go.
one.
I think he will attempt to go for Ozzy. The question is whether or not he'll succeed. I could see him slaying Mike White. I don't know why. That was just like the person that popped out to me as like Coach just randomly deciding he wants Mike White gone, and it somehow working. But But I don't know. I don't know that Coach will be doing a lot of slaying of dragons this season. Maybe Charlie. He could slay Charlie. Or D. Because D would be a relatively easy person, probably, to take out of the game. But Rizzo, I know he kind of preseason said he might want to target Rizzo, the Riz God. But then he'd have to call himself the God Slayer. Um, Moving on, I have Jonathan Young, somebody who I'm surprised by how well he's doing. He's got good relationships with Coach, Colby, Chrissy. Um, Potentially, I think Joe is not somebody he's met yet, but Coach is really connecting with Joe. It seems like a pretty obvious connection for Jonathan. Um, but who on this new tribe is Jonathan vibing with? I guess that's the thing, is I don't really see anybody on this new tribe for Jonathan to like be super connected to. Especially Camilla's not going to want to work with Jonathan. Rizzo's not going to want to work with Jonathan. Rick's not going to want to work with Jonathan. Cere's probably not going to want to work with Jonathan. But if he makes it through this tribe, which I feel like he will, just because of his challenge strength, he'll be going to the merge in a pretty decent position. Stephanie is another person he could potentially work with, I feel like. A lot of the more boring players who I wouldn't necessarily want to see succeed, but he's just gotten multiple confessionals at this point about how he's going to play more strategically this time, and I feel like that's going to pay off in some way. Lots of positive content of people talking about him. Decent amount of content overall. I mean, he did only get one confessional this episode, but a lot of people only got one confessional this episode, so his edit's definitely not anything to write home about, but I just don't see any major downsides for him so far.
Yeah, it's not a neutral edit, but it's like a slight positive, but not a winning positive.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Maybe.
I mean, we'll see. But because he still could win. Anybody really above like maybe D and above could, in my opinion, still potentially win. But D, Charlie, Aubrey, Coach, those guys would be shocking winners at this point. Are we good to move on to Ozzy?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, Ozzy West is kind of slipping down a little bit, but overall he's gotten some decent content. The only thing I'll say about him this episode was that he did really seem to want to gun for Angelina a little bit, and that clearly didn't pan out, so he could slip thanks to that. I just think like the super strong premiere followed by two like minor cooldown episodes is good from a confessional count standpoint. I think he's been shown in a more complex way than I think we've pretty much ever seen Ozzy be shown. So that feels like kind of a weird thing. It could just be them wanting to do that for him and make him a more fleshed out, complex character, but still. I don't know. Overall, I like Ozzy's edit. There are some negatives, unlike with Jonathan, but I think there are also more positives than Jonathan. But those two could really be interchangeable for me at this point.
I got a video on TikTok that said that somebody said that they hope Ozzy wins so that they don't have to see him ever again. And I don't know why.
Well, this is his 5th time playing.
Oh.
I don't think they would bring him back for a sixth time anyways, so I wouldn't be too worried. But yeah, I don't necessarily want to see Ozzy come back for a 6th time. I really didn't care to see him back for a 4th or 5th time to begin with, so what do you think about the 6-time player future for Ozzy, Connor?
Weirdly, if he wins and they do a second Winners at War and he's somehow capable, I don't think it would make much sense. I just don't see a reason to do it. And
Honestly,
I
him.
think Ozzy himself is playing a good game right now, enough that he could go far. I just don't see. We need to see more from Ozzy in the next couple episodes because, as you mentioned, he cooled down quite nicely from a massive opening episode. But he sits in the middle as well.
I feel like if Ozzy won, that would actually increase his odds of becoming a six-time player because of the very, very slim potential for Winners at War 2, where they would probably want to bring back Ozzy if he was the winner of season 50. And, like, assuming they do it within the next 20 years, he'll be 65, maybe. And I think he could probably still go out there if he keeps in good shape. Honestly, I might be down for a 65-year-old Aussie return 20 years from now, but um I don't know. If he loses, I just don't see them bringing back the five-time loser Aussie Lust to play for a sixth time. It just doesn't make sense to me.
But why not? Got to keep bringing him back till he wins. Hand him that $1 million.
True. Like Boston Rob.
That's what I was getting at. I've never seen any of Boston Rob's seasons, just to clarify.
Nick.
At number 7, I have Emily Flippin. She had a crazy episode. Q wouldn't stop calling her by her full name for some reason. She decided to tell everyone about Aubrey's idol because she got freaked out by Christian whispering it in her ear last second. And then Christian explained why he did that. Yeah. And then Christian explained why he did that, and it seemed like the most obvious reason, like, oh, in case you got swapped onto a tribe with Aubrey. She was just like, oh, I didn't think about that. What do you mean you didn't think about that? Why did you think he was telling you this information? I thought you were just mad that he didn't tell it to you sooner, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense to me personally. It's just
She thought that he told her just to unsettle her.
Yeah, Christian whispered in her ear just to freak her out. He just wanted to throw her off her game, clearly.
Where?
I guess, like, she has a somewhat strong alliance with the Angelina now, randomly. She's kind of trying to work with Ozzy now for some reason. Maybe that'll work out for her. But she's pissed off Christian. And I don't think pissing off Christian is ever a good idea. So... And she's just portrayed as a very messy player. She does have to move down, but she's had a good, solid edit for the first couple episodes to where I feel comfortable still having her somewhat high. I'll have to see how episode 4 goes before I really decide on a concrete placement for her now, but this was definitely a weird episode for her. Some ups, some downs, mostly downs. But she got the most confessionals of the episode, so.
Maybe she got the most confessionals because she was freaking out. And it was entertaining, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that definitely is probably a significant part of the reason why, but still, a lot of content, and it's not like she's been overexposed to begin with, so why not, I guess. But we'll move on and talk about Mike White. Mike, this episode, I think he proved that he has some strategic chops. He sort of led the charge on Q for the most part and got what he wanted. He's now pretty definitively working with the other David versus Goliath people, and they have Emily as well. So all good things for Mike White. After a pre-merge where he was just kind of there, cracking jokes and being entertaining. He has 12 confessionals, which I think is a very solid amount overall. And yeah, that's really all there is to say about Mike. Just a lot of good things. Not blowing me out of the water though. But we'll see next episode. Apparently he becomes the kingpin or whatever. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Do you have any thoughts on Mike White, either of you?
No.
Yeah, I mean, with Mike White, there's always going to be this battle of how much do we think he's actually playing the game to win, and how much do we think he's playing the game for himself, to have it fun, to enjoy it, to get the experience of Survivor to be what he wants it to be. And I think this episode helped show a lot of the viewers that were maybe doubting that he was actually trying to win to any extent, that he is legitimately there for a reason more than just the vacation. And it's a good strategic move. Sure, you do lose someone who could potentially win you challenges in a situation down the road where maybe you need someone to beat someone for immunity. Maybe I wouldn't have looked at Q. So, of all of the quote unquote helpful challenge players, Q has a pretty bleak track record, honestly. And it's not like he's going to be the person that's make or break whether that tribe wins or loses the next like 4 immunity challenges. I don't think. I feel like you can move on from Q and not feel like it's the end of the world. And
Yeah.
again, just overall good strategic gameplay, gets a solid majority out of it. So some unity within the group.
To that end, I mean, I don't know, like, I kind of feel bad for Christian and Ozzy because I feel like they're both really good, like, tribal challenge performers in general. Like, Ozzy really has proven to be a phenomenal swimmer, good with physical aspects. Christian is a great puzzle solver, especially if you put a slide puzzle in front of him. But they keep getting like really just the worst draws for tribes ever. I mean, being on tribe with Emily doesn't tend to help. Um, but like now they got Stephanie, Angelina, Mike White. Are any of those people really gonna be super useful in a challenge? Um, it's tough for them. And I especially feel bad for Christian because he's my favorite player, and I don't want this for him, but nah, well, it's what he gets, I guess. He's honestly working with it pretty good. He's been pretty much in charge of every vote, or at the very least getting what he wants every single time. But we'll talk about that later. Because for now, we will talk about Colby Donaldson. Colby didn't really get much this episode. He got one confessional. That's the second episode in a row, so he definitely drops a little bit for that. Do either of you remember what Colby's confessional was specifically? Because I have like a vague idea of what it might have been, but it's not materializing in my brain.
Yeah, I almost never remember the specific professionals.
Yeah, Connor usually does, so I was counting on him, but
I want to say it had to do with the idea of doing a all loyalty alliance,
with
just like old school
Coach.
style, with Coach and Joe and Chrissy potentially,
Yeah.
something along that lines.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Which I can't for sure remember, but I'm like 90% sure it had to do something with the swap and the alliance in general of being like, oh, I have Genevieve. Oh, would you look at that? Coach is here. I like Coach. I think Joe could be loyal. It sounds like Coach has Chrissy.
Yeah,
So
but
I
does he?
vaguely remember it being related to that,
Yeah.
but
Huh. Well, I mean, that is not my favorite storyline that could potentially pan out. It's just the Honor and Integrity Alliance uh running the game. But Colby's had a good at it. Like he just got such a good premiere, and since then he's kind of taken a back seat, but you know, he's yet to be skunked, and he's just portrayed as a likable guy who's willing to change his mind about people as well.
Are you?
yes.
Um, yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. Anything else to add about Colby before we move on?
I'm good.
No.
Yeah.
He's still kind of just a guy to me. to be honest.
I mean, he's always kind of just been a guy from Texas, but people like that.
He's just
So
not super notable to me.
yeah, I mean, I think he's mostly notable for the fact that he played on the second season of the show when the show was at peak popularity, and he was,
And I never want.
a 25-year-old guy from Texas, just inherently gonna be likable to most Americans.
I'm not American.
No, and you weren't alive in 2001. But at number 4, I have Cerie Fields. Cerie, the main reason I have her so high really is that confessional from D, where it just seems like she knows that she should be targeting Cerie, but doesn't, but seems super hesitant to try to target her. I feel like that is very telling for the way that people are treating Cerie this season. And
It's a reoccurring theme in the edit overall.
yeah, people talking about how dangerous Cerie is and then just not targeting her. And that's such a Cerie thing to have happen, and such a Cerie way for Cerie to eventually win the game. The only thing, the only reason really for me to not have her this high is just that I don't see how she wins the game. I don't see how they let her to make it to Final 3 when it's just never winning individual challenges. So, you're always going to have an opportunity to take her out unless she finds some sort of idol, which she's yet to ever do in her Survivor career. She does have Ozzy's extra vote, so that's some small bit of power that she can use and leverage, and she has her phenomenal social game. But those two things alone, it's just really hard for me to imagine how she gets to the end with the target that she has on her back and her inability to win challenges. That's just such a terrible combination of things to have. And I have to think at a certain point, no amount of social gameplay is going to get her out of that, especially as you start to get to the end game. But
Don't worry, she'll just find every single idol.
yeah, I mean, if she randomly pulls out this idol finding skill that she has not had, because I mean, she's been playing since technically idols existed.
It was like the second season of Idols, no?
Yeah, and it was Super Idols. But by her second season, regular idols existed and were in play and everything, and she's played every season since then with idols in the game. So the fact that she's never found one doesn't give me a lot of confidence that she's ever going to. But then at the same time, actually no.
I mean, I was mostly joking.
I mean, I hope she finds idols. I would love to see Cerie make some crazy idol plays. It would be awesome. But I don't know. We get to move on to Rick Devens.
Yep. I mean, unless Connor has something to say.
I think you covered Cerie pretty well. I mean, you're looking at a player who's consistently in the light of day for all the wrong reasons, and yet nobody's doing anything about it. So we should be worried Cerie goes home at any time. We should also be worried somehow Cerie wins this game at any time.
It almost feels like everybody is separately waiting for themselves specifically to feel unsettled with Cerie's presence, and I feel like if they all wait that long, it's going to be too late.
Yeah, but I do feel like there's probably a perception that it's kind of never too late to take out Cerie because she's not going to win an individual challenge and she hasn't been shown to find idols really. So
that could be what takes her to the end.
Yeah, and her closest ally has an idol, and God knows she could probably convince Ozzy to play it on her. So I don't know. At number 3, I have Rick Devens, the idol king himself, who is yet to find an idol this season. And he is on a tribe that
hid an idol.
He's hidden an idol. Yes, he's hidden a fake idol, which is is also something
So
I
he's
believe he
at
did on his
negative-
original season.
He's at -1. Not a good look.
You know, I don't know if that math is necessarily.
No, he's at -1. He's at -1.
I guess he had 0 idols and then he lost 1.
Yeah.
Your logic is impenetrable. Impenetrable. What do you think, Connor?
I think it's
we
time.
we don't care what Connor thinks.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. I think it's time we do another dun 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 breaking news from Survivor. It's another episode of Rick Devens being cool and unfortunately not much content. However, we do see him get into a situation where he could potentially, maybe, go a couple rounds without a vote. At the end of the day, I do also think that he's in a decent spot to probably not just get voted out anyways. And it's, just overall, smooth sailing and sunny skies. Back to you guys.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're looking at 14 degrees tomorrow in the afternoon. I'm surprised we didn't see Rick and Rizzo really interact. For some reason, I feel like that was a duo that I wanted to see, but like I don't need them to like be like allies necessarily, but I wanted to see them interact, and we just didn't really see that. What did we see from Rick this episode? Like he's with Sari, which is good. He's got his ally. But outside of that, I'm sure he's happy to be separated from Joe. Main thing for me is the fact that he was separated from Christian, in my opinion, means that those two are safe until the merge or until another swap where they're put on a trap together. I don't think one of them is going home without the other present, just based on how much their duo is really like hammered in by the edit. So really, that's keeping him and Christian very high on this list for me, just in terms of they aren't going to be randomly voted out within the next couple episodes, I don't think. And Rick overall has just had such a presence on the season, has been someone who has been making big decisions, making moves, and just someone I feel pretty confident in overall. At number 2, I have Genevieve Mushalook. This episode, we see like her really going around spreading the word about Aubrey not being trustworthy. People seem to be buying it, except for Tiffany, but Tiffany has 2 confessionals, so who cares what Tiffany thinks? And that's it.
Oh, real.
And that's just like kind of good content for Genevieve at this point. Again, her first season, her biggest flaw was that she didn't form those like early bonds as much. And this season, she's really working to form those bonds more so. We see Chrissy seems to really like Genevieve, so just a lot of great content for Genevieve. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Mother Vive. I think Mother Vive deserves a win. And I want to see her go far, and I'm happy she's getting a lot of content because it gives me a good feeling because she, like, other than Aubrey, doesn't really feel like a whole lot of people are like, oh no, Genevieve.
Do you think that Genevieve's a sneaky bitch?
I think Genevieve is a hot bitch. She's Mother Vive.
Hell yeah. What about the Bob? What do you think of the Bob after 3 episodes?
I think Genevieve always looks good.
Hell yeah. Connor, how do you feel about Genevieve right now, as far as her odds of winning?
I mean, we kind of had the discussion earlier. I currently have her number 1 on my list because I'm worried about potentially Christian getting into the territory of overexposure at this point. We're getting there. And at the end of the day, I also just think Genevieve is in a phenomenal editing standpoint. Like, the only negative content about her is from someone who got given an idol who also has a third of the confessionals of Christian and about half the confessionals she does. Her number one ally of the only person that's targeting her has 2 confessionals. Like, I don't see who currently poses a threat to her other than just Christian's idol that Aubrey was given. I don't know. I really just don't see a negative, and it's the only worrying thing is that there just isn't a negative yet, and it could pop up at any time.
And when Genevieve gets idled out by Aubrey next episode, then what?
And I'm not watching anymore, because guess what? That also means I don't need to see Mr. Beast.
What if Mr. Beast shows up next episode and then Genevieve gets idled out?
I thought next episode was
Then
Zach Bryan.
Oh, that's true. Next episode is Zach Bryan.
Good. So I'm safe.
Not necessarily. They could double up.
Are you
I
really
feel like
safe when it's Zach Bryan?
Mr. Beast would want an episode all to himself. I think I'm safe.
Yeah, but he doesn't necessarily get to pick. He said, "Hey, can I be on the show?" And they said, "Yeah, you can be on the show."
I
That's
think he
all
has
the
enough
information made
money
public
to
to
be
ask.
able to pick.
I think CBS
why
has
did
enough
Zach
money to
Bryan
let it
go?
to. I think CBS has enough money to have more leverage in that situation than Mr. Beast.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
like,
I just
Zach
think it's
Bryan
funny to
does
call
not
him. I just
that
think
much
it's
money.
funny to say that he uses money for everything.
Mr. Beast. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a double feature, and then Genevieve will get idled out.
And then I will not be returning on the podcast because I will be dead, because that will be horrific.
Damn. Okay. Moving on. It feels like a bit of an overreaction, but then again, if my number one
Never
pick
an
here,
That
overreaction.
Okay.
feels like an on-screen trigger warning.
and
It's never an overreaction when it comes to Genevieve.
okay, well, to be fair, if Christian gets idled out next episode somehow,
And you see Mr. Beast and whatever the other guy is that I don't know.
yeah, I might have a similar reaction. But luckily, I have him at number 1, so I don't think that's gonna happen because Christian, only real negative is that he's overexposed, which kind of just tells me that even if he doesn't win, he's probably gonna make it far. And yeah, it's Christian. What else can I say? He crashed out this episode. We've never seen Christian crash out. It was awesome.
It was weirdly a calm crash out for a lot of it. Like a lot
It's
of it was spent
Christian.
with
What
him
did you
kind of just
expect?
speaking in the style of Mr. Hubicki himself. And then all of a sudden he gets a little frustrated, he has a little bit crash out, and then he goes back to Mr. Hubicki himself.
It really is when like the nerdy professor in like a cartoon crashes out and they just go like they just kind of start like stammering and just like not
Genuinely just did not know what to say.
Yeah, Christian really is like a cartoon character and it's great.
I mean, his presence on the entire season so far, he's kind of felt like a cartoon character.
Yeah, he shat his pants
And fell over.
on purpose though. He meant to do that.
Yeah, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he meant to do that.
I don't know. What do you guys think of Christian? Because I think he's gonna win.
I think he's pretty great. I saw a TikTok video where somebody had them really low on had him really low on their list because they didn't remember him.
What?
Which is insane to me because he's a very memorable person.
He's very memorable and he has 23 confessionals. I'm not sure how it's possible that you don't remember him. I feel like that had to be rage bait. There's just no way.
It could have been because it was also the same video that said the other thing that I told you guys about that I'm blanking on right now. Oh yeah, the thing about not wanting to see Ozzy again.
That
Among other things
feel-
that were
that-
pretty shocking.
Not wanting to see
That's
Ozzy
like a
again, that's a very
reasonable
popular
thing.
opinion. So that's almost more confusing.
They
What?
had Serene #1.
You know?
Eh, that's
Sure.
not completely unreasonable, I guess.
I mean, it's a little bit unreasonable, but I guess I have her at like #4, so what can I even say?
They also had Kyle Lowe. They remembered like Kyle and stuff about him and his gameplay and him winning, but they didn't remember Camilla.
Damn.
Okay, it
just
was
fucked
rage
up.
bait. There's no way. There's no way.
They don't Did you guys know that Kyle and Camilla were like a secret duo on season 48?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, fun fact. Not a lot of people know
Are
this.
you being Are you being sarcastic right now?
Yes.
Fuck you.
Okay. um Anywho, all that being said, that is that enough about Christian?
Is it ever enough about Christian?
Truly, I could talk about Christian for hours.
You can talk for him.
No, I could never.
I don't think he needs you to do that. He's a
Yeah.
very well articulated person.
True. What do you think about him using the word parallax in the immunity challenge?
Christian shenanigans.
I'll be honest. The only thing I think of, when I hear the word parallax, is the DC characters, so.
I don't think of anything. I'm gonna be totally honest.
I'm not even 100% sure that I know what parallax means, so.
I do not.
But probably not the smartest word to use in a challenge where you're instructing people who can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyhow, that's probably
Shenanigans.
classic. Uh, that being said, anything else to touch on real quick before we wrap things up?
That's about all I got.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, next episode should be exciting. I'm predicting a double elimination, so hopefully that ends up coming to fruition because it would be cool. But either way, definitely very excited. Hope everyone watching is as well. That being said, the pod has spoken.